not the NAACP bringing a lawsuit against Trump, Giuliani, Proud Boys, and Oath Keepers for the January 6th insurrection. I just feel like we need to unpack and talk about this.
A lot of people watched it, but nobody's watching day to day, all day, unless you're me and just love this stuff. Procedures are okay, but we want to know, where do you stand? And so I think the more that politicians stop trying to be politicians and be people, then that will engage voters.
We reject alternative facts, so come on in here and let me educate you on the facts. So the NAACP and Mississippi Congressman Beanie Thompson, side note, Beanie is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, has brought a lawsuit against Donald John Trump and Rudolph Giuliani because they are saying, oh, no, ma'am, Pam, you just can't go around breaking the law trying to disenfranchise the people. No, you cannot just disenfranchise the people. We're going to need to see you in a court of law. So they went down there to Washington in that courtroom and is telling that judge that Trump and Giuliani conspired, or they are alleging that they conspired with white supremacist domestic terrorist groups such as the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers to disenfranchise the people, and that they violated the 1871 Act, the Civil Rights 1871 Act, or what we know as the KKK Act. Basically, back then, that act was to protect black people and other people of color, but basically black folks, from the Ku Klux Klan, from the KKK, because the KKK didn't want black folks to vote. And so they said, oh no, man, Pam, we're gonna pass this law and you cannot disenfranchise black folks or people of color just because you wanna be a white supremacist and you got this group, this white domestic terrorist group, you can't do that. So with the NAACP, and Congressman Beanie Thompson seems to be saying, or seems to be alleging in a court of law down there in Washington, D.C., is that these white supremacist groups not conspired with the President of the United States to disenfranchise people of color. If you know, we've been talking about this. We saw what they did down there on January 6th when they stormed that Capitol, when they were looking to hang Mike Pence, when they were looking to kill Nancy Pelosi, when they smeared feces on the wall, when they brought a Confederate battle flag into the Capitol Rotunda. Side note, I'm still trying to figure out why the Confederate flag is still a thing in America. We fought a whole war, and the Confederacy was literally traitors to the Union, or in other words, they were traitors to America. So while the Confederate flag was still a thing and everybody just kind of went on about their business for all these years, I will never know. But those people brought that flag into the rotunda of the Capitol. One might say that's a declaration of war. I mean, if you really think about it, but you know, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the lawsuit. So Quentin, just stay on the lawsuit. So they are alleging that these people, all of them conspired to disenfranchise black folks. We remember President Trump, or black folks and people of color. Remember President Trump, you know, was down there pinpointing cities in states that were heavily populated by people who look like me. Shout out to people who look like me. Shout out to people with brown skin, little melanated skin. Shout out to white folks too, who is allies, but you know, it's still Black History Month, so shout out to the black folks. So we've heard him say, you know, we got it all on tape. We've heard him say, you know, he needs to find 11,000 votes down there in Georgia. We see the Fulton County, Atlanta area district attorney trying to bring that criminal case against Trump as well. So we got all the stuff we need on the tape. And it seems as though the NAACP and Congressman, what's his name? Bernie Thompson will be moving forward with this. I think it's interesting that Rudolph Giuliani is named in the lawsuit as well. Like, yeah, I could see the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers in there. Side note, we have a video coming about the Proud Boys very soon. Shout out to my intern, Katie, who is doing the research for that right now. Some of the stuff we talked about that she's uncovered is just, it's a lot, niece. It's a lot. But I could see why they named him. I was surprised to see Rudolph, but I guess since he was technically the president's attorney, he's, I guess, liable as well for the lies that he's been spreading and the shenanigans he's been mucking about. I will never forget, side note, I will never forget, as long as I live, that hair dye running down Rudy Giuliani's face. That's something I'm not gonna forget. That's something I'm just not gonna forget. Not at all. So they are bringing the lawsuit. I think it's interesting as well that the Congressman Beanie Thompson They are seeking punitive damages, monies. They want monies. He's saying, you know, he was forced to lie down on the ground. He was forced to shelter in place with other people in close proximity, you know, citing that coronavirus is still alive and about, which is a real thing. There were some congresswomen and congresswomen and men who end up contracting coronavirus after the insurrection. One could arguably say, you know, how do we know we got it from there? How do we know they didn't get it from there? That's the thing. An environment was created to put them into this unsafe situation, not only as the insurrection was going on, but this unsafe situation with being sheltered in place closely with people and coronavirus still being a real thing. So, yeah, seeking punitive damages, the money for that. He's, I believe, over 70. So he's saying, you know, he high risk. So not only did you put my life in danger with the COVID, you put my life in danger with the insurrection, and you was trying to stop people of color's voices from being heard by violating the KKK Act. I said, well, go ahead then. Go ahead. We love to see it since we see the Senate not going to hold. We see the Senate isn't going to hold Trump accountable. We see they're letting him do anything he wants. We see that they're backbiting and backpedaling and trying to make it fit when it don't fit. Make it make sense, my love. Make it make sense, my love. You know, we see Ron Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, come out today basically saying that the insurrection wasn't an armed insurrection, trying to create a new story. When he thinks armed, he thinks gun. What? Armed is a weapon. It don't matter if they had a gun or not. Armed is armed. What are you saying? Talking about, well, how many guns did we find? Well, sir, the people were allowed to go home. Some of them trying to go down to Mexico on vacation. So we don't really know how many weapons the armed insurrectionists had because they were allowed to go home. Because there was no force there to take control of the situation. So we don't know. So what it looks like with all of that going on, we see Republican senators doing all of that. The NAACP and Democrat Congressman Beanie Thompson is saying, no, ma'am, Pam, we're not going to stand for it. Somebody has to be accountable for this. Somebody has to be accountable for the far-reaching implications, because it was not, per them, it was not just an attack on the Capitol. It was an attack on people of color's vote. That's real. That's real. So it's expected that other Democrats may come and join this lawsuit as well as they bring it forth. We'll definitely stay tuned to see how this whole thing is going to shake out, because it is really sad that there was not a conviction in the Senate. It is really sad to see Republican senators come out on the other side and argue a process question, basically let Trump off on a technicality when they all believe that he incited the deadly insurrection. It is very sad that in a system talking about the Congress where he would not have spent one day in jail, where he would not have paid a fine, he would have just been convicted in the Senate and potentially barred from running office again, that accountability was not there based on a technicality. Which we can debate whether there should have been a technicality argument anyway, because we've read the Constitution. If you haven't, I've read the Constitution about impeachment here on my channel before. Definitely go back and look at some of the live stream videos. We've talked about this before, and so we've kind of already settled this. It really didn't take like a constitutional scholar or a constitutional lawyer to read the plain text to see what the text of the Constitution says about impeachment and trials. So I say all that to say it's really a shame that there was no accountability, but shout out to the NAACP and Congressman Beanie Thompson for standing up, for saying no, this cannot stand. We must have accountability. So that's it for today. If you learned something, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know. I'm thinking about doing this a little more often. I think I want to start doing this, finding some good headline news stories that may not be widely accessible like on TV, because I know so many people get their news from the TV, but digging down deeper, finding some other stories and just coming through and breaking them down and letting you know what's going on. So let me know in the comments. if you enjoyed and if you learned. Okay, I'll be back later here.